pandemic, school board races didn't receive a ton of attention, with voter turnout rarely above 10%. Today, school board elections have become a political battleground as Republicans push for party affiliation to appear on the ballot. The Washington Post, writing of the GOP's school board strategy, quote, "Conservatives are once again growing their influence within one of the most underrated power structures in American politics." Joining me now to discuss, Amanda Litman and Ross Morales-Rocketto. They are the co-founders of Run for Something and Run for Something Civics. It is great to see you both. Amanda, from your perch, how do you view what it is Republicans are doing when it comes to school board races?
Republicans are trying to build long-term sustainable power. They're trying to make sure that what our kids are learning in schools will cultivate the kind of citizens who will grow up to be long-term Republican voters. 20 or 30 years ago, Ralph Reed, one of the founders of the Christian Moral Majority, said, "I'd rather have 1,000 school board members than one president." They understand exactly how important these offices are. They've been investing in them for decades, and we have now reached a point where that's coming into light, and people who care about our kids learning empathy and compassion and an accurate telling of history have to get in this fight too, because otherwise we're at a crisis for what it means for the future of our democracy.
Ross, help us understand. So Republicans have been making this strategic investment over the long haul. What have Democrats been doing?
A whole lot of nothing. I'd like to say that we've been keeping up, but we haven't. A thing to really think about here is the Republican Party is in year 35 of a 40-year plan. The Democratic Party is probably in year 5 or 6 of that same 40-year plan.
So tell me, Ross, then, how do you play catch up?
A lot of getting out there and hustling, to be totally honest. This year, Run for Something is going to endorse at least 700 candidates across the country. And we need, in all of the above strategy, to make sure we're recruiting folks and making sure that, they're running really good campaigns, and that means that, not just the party is going to need to get involved, but also donors are going to need to make sure that they're prioritizing the 2022 election the way that they prioritize the 2020 election.
So, Amanda, some of this is about strategy. Some of this, as Ross just said, is about funding. We're also, Amanda, in this really unique moment where we have all watched these videos of school board members be threatened, some even attacked. We know that there are school board members, many of whom are volunteers who are just retiring because they just don't want to deal with this anymore. How then do you make the case to someone that it is still worth running for one of those seats?
We need good people to run because otherwise the absolute worst people are going to replace in these openings. There are something like 20,000 school board races on the ballot this year. About half of them are in November. About half of them occur at other points throughout the year. We desperately need good people to run for these positions, even though it's scary, even though it might be dangerous, because the alternative is so much worse. And there is power in numbers here. If good people run for something, will have your back. There will be a network of folks who share your values, who will support you, help you find ways to be and feel safe, will connect you to other people running. But we got to get in there because we cannot leave it up to the alternative.
Amanda, you and Ross follow down ballot races across the country. Besides school boards, where are you seeing the far right really place their bets?
Local election administrators. There are something like 2,000 or 3,000 of these positions on the ballot this year. They are trying to make sure that people who want to undermine democracy and subvert the 2024 election are in place. They're running for things like city and county clerk, county recorder of deeds, tax assessor, election judge. These are the kinds of positions that will determine what happens in the presidential and Senate, at governors and congressional races, both in 2022, 2024, and if democracy survives beyond that, beyond. They're trying to make sure that people who run for these positions and win can control the outcomes before any candidate even gets on the ballot.
So if I am understanding all of this correctly, as someone who has followed, the work that the two of you have done for a very long time, when you step back, it seems as though Republicans have understood that there are some very unsexy, not high-profile traditionally positions that they can invest in that will help them meet their strategic outcomes. And that the investment on the part of Democrats has been really aimed at the federal level and at winning things like governorships. Ross, what would it take, right, if not in this moment, then when, to make that strategic pivot to where the party is placing its resources?
Yeah, I think the way that we need to think about this is there was an unprecedented amount of investment in the 2020 election. Donors, political operatives, volunteers, everyone was mobilized to beat Donald Trump. We need to treat every single election with that kind of urgency. There were elections in 2021, there will be elections in 2022, there will be elections in 2023, and so on. Every single year, there's an election, there are no off years, and we need to make sure that we're investing in the things that actually provide significant outcomes. And I think the other piece here that's really important to note is that investing in a down ballot race is significantly less expensive than investing in a $70 or $80 million Senate race.
Yeah, I need to ask you, Amanda, to that last point, because I imagine this is the pushback that you two of you get a lot, which is that resources are finite. If you're going to begin spending resources on these races, then where are Democrats choosing not to invest?
Well, we reject the premise there. The amount of money in politics keeps going up year over year. We can always find more money. There's an argument to be had about that separately, but there is always more money to find. We also know that these local races help the rest of the ticket. Run for Something did research on this and found that competing locally, especially on the state legislative level, can help juice turnout for the top of the ticket anywhere from 1% to 3% or more. There is so much work that can be done by investing small that will help us win big and lay the groundwork for that future elections are happening on fair and free and unrigged maps that allow us to actually have a chance to win in 2024 and beyond.
Amanda, Ross, thank you both. Next.